And put up the slide.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and welcome to Illuminating Futures, hosted by the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute. Please take your seats.
Actually, put back up the default slide, the client.
Good evening. Buenas noches. Bienvenidos. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. If you can please take your seats. Buenas noches. Bienvenidos. There's plenty of time to celebrate. I love the buzz. Favor de tomar su asiento. Please take your seats. This is not musical chairs. You don't have to keep moving until you find yours. I know you have a little piece of paper that has your ticket number. Please take your seats. Favor de sentarse. Everyone, please take your seats. Everyone, please take your seats. I know this is a room filled with dignitaries and special guests, and you can appreciate that we need everyone to please take their seats before we have our honorees walk in the room. Shh. If you can please take your seats. Shh. I'm going to take the wine. I'm just saying. Shh. Everyone, please take your seats. We will have plenty of time for celebrating and networking. Por favor. We have the opportunity tonight to honor two very distinguished people. We want to be on our best behavior. Por favor, todos en sus asientos. Everybody in their seats. I still see people looking for seats. Thank you very much. I very much appreciate it. Please stay in your seats until you're asked to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remain seated. Thank you, everyone. The program will start. Don't move. I just said the program's going to start. Okay.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by CHLI board member, U.S. Representative Nicole Maliotakis of New York.
Good evening, and thank you for all being here, and please join me in a pledge of allegiance to our great nation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and freedom. Thank you very much.
Please remain standing for the invocation led by Jennifer Korn, Deputy Assistant to the President and Faith Director of the White House Faith Office.
Thank you, Marianne, and it's such an honor to be here with CHLI. I've been working with CHLI since 2004. I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys are amazing, and I'm back in D.C. as the Faith Director at the White House Faith Office, and such an honor. So please let us appreciate the freedom that we have together, bow and pray together. Bow your heads. Dear God, thank you for this day, for it is the day you have made. Bless all that are in this room. Let them know your love, your peace, your joy. We're so grateful and blessed to be in America. And in the midst of our busy days, our frustrations, our grief, and even our triumphs, we turn to you, God, for wisdom and strength. let us remember to obey Jesus' command. Above all, love one another. We pray for Marco Rubio and his family. He has taken on a Herculean task, but it is not too big for you, God. Keep him safe and lead him to the best path for success. We pray for President Trump and all the leaders in this room in Washington, D.C., who make decisions that affect Americans. And we hope and pray that even for a moment in time, we forget our human-made labels and remember the label that we are all children of God. Bless our food, America, and the world. Amen.
And now, please welcome Marianne Gomez-Orta, CHLI President and CEO, and Leo Munoz, Executive Director at Comcast NBC Universal Telemundo, CHLI Board of
Okay, you're
Directors,
also
and
good.
tonight's gala chairman.
You're also good, and you may have your seat now. Okay, good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. Thank you to each and every one of you. For those of you who do not know, I'm not just a person up here shushing you at the podium. I'm Marianne Gomez-Orta, the CHLI President and CEO of the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute. Thank you again to all of you joining us tonight. We're also joined via live stream to celebrate the 21st Gala and Leadership Awards, Illuminating Futures. This evening's celebration would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. Please join me in a round of applause for Comcast, Capital One, Altria Client Services, Amazon, American Airlines, Halion, Philip Morris International, T-Mobile, and Wells Fargo. Join me also in thanking the CHLI staff and the team who have been working behind the scenes for this very special occasion. The Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute is blessed to have a board of directors committed to our vision of advancing the Hispanic community's diversity of thought. All board members, please rise to be recognized. CHLI board members, congressional board members, and corporate board members, please rise to be recognized. Leo's already here. Thank you. Thank you so much. We also acknowledge, did everybody get their bread? Shh. Okay. We acknowledge that many of our origin stories started outside of the United States and are joined by many ambassadors from our neighbors and our friends. Please join me in recognizing the ambassadors who are here with us this evening. Ambassador Catalina Crespo Sancho de Costa Rica, Ana Irene Delgado, OAS Panamá, Esteban Moctezuma Barragán de Mexico, Serat Onel from Turkey, Maria Luisa Ribeiro Volti de Brazil, Alexander Taurei from Taiwan, and we are also joined by many deputies and dignitaries from countries including Paraguay and Peru. A round of applause for them. Now for you.
Good evening. As this year's CHLI chairman, thank you for your commitment. Funds from this gala, as you know, support our Global Leaders Internship Program, Communications Fellowships, Program Fellowships, and the Lincoln Diaz-Balart Public Service Fellowship. Special thank you to the members of Congress joining us this evening. Senator Rick Scott, Henry Cuellar, Congresswoman Monica de la Cruz, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart, Congressman Adriano Espaillat, Congressman Tony Gonzalez, Congressman Vicente Gonzalez, Congresswoman Nicole Maliotakis, Congressman Rob Menendez, Congresswoman Nelly Poe, and Congresswoman Delia Ramirez.
Oh, he's here.
And Senator Bernie Moreno.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, this is next.
Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez, Congressman David Valadao, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Hopefully we don't miss anyone. And thank you again, all of you, for your support, and enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please welcome former Chile Congressional Staff Appreciation honorees, Janice Fuentes, founder and managing director, Fuentes Strategies, and Miguel Mendoza, senior manager, Amazon, Chile Advisory Council.
Hi, buenas noches. Thank you, Marianne, and thank you, Liana, for asking me to do this. It's an honor and a privilege. Integrity, compassion, and dedication immediately come to mind when reflecting on the career of my friend, the Honorable Lincoln Diaz-Balart. During my tenure in Congress with Congressman Luis Gutierrez, I had the privilege of collaborating closely with Lincoln. I've always been a Democrat, he was always a Republican. And his exceptional team on immigration, foreign affairs, and numerous other challenges facing our communities. Through our offices serve different constituencies, ours in Illinois and his in Florida. Lincoln never recognized district boundaries when addressing fundamental issues like human rights, the rule of law, and creating opportunities for children, particularly those from immigrant communities. It comes as no surprise that Lincoln established a nonprofit organization dedicated to fostering bipartisanship and developing future leaders. His vision has always extended beyond partisan politics to the greater good. Tonight, we honor the Honorable Lincoln Diaz-Balart and express our profound gratitude for his distinguished public service, inspirational leadership, and unwavering commitment to our shared values. On a personal note, I'm sorry, you said not to cry. I miss you, Lincoln. I miss our text. I miss our stories of your retired life, including your trip in 2024 to Madrid to visit your beloved Uncle Waldo. Who is now with you. And to honor the way we always wrapped our text, which he always did. Te quiero, tu amigo, LDB. Te quiero, tu amiga, JF.
Lincoln was a distinguished student of law and strategy. As a statesman, he effectively implemented the diplomatic approaches he had studied from both American and international leaders. He authored the landmark 1997 Nicaraguan Adjustment and Central American Relief Act, NACADA, which provided the legal residency to hundreds of thousands of individuals from Nicaragua, Cuba, El Salvador, and Guatemala. His profound impact on human rights earned him admiration from heads of states worldwide, resulting in numerous prestigious awards throughout his career. Lincoln was a masterful communicator. I fondly remember his conductor-like presentation style and his precise choice of words, both in English and Spanish. He commanded attention when speaking while giving his full attention when listening. To quote one of his favorite sayings by Jose Marti, it is a sin not to do what one is capable of doing. Thank you for your attention, and now please turn your focus to a video tribute to the Honorable Lincoln Diaz-Balart.
Through his vision and leadership, former Congressman Lincoln Diaz-Balart has guided Chile in its mission to advance our community's diversity of thought while preparing young Hispanics to become the leaders of tomorrow.
I'm sure you've realized the uniqueness of Chile. You know, we're the only bipartisan game in town.
Doing something for the right reason being service. Not to serve yourself, but to serve others. In my case, I knew I wanted to run for office, and I didn't know if I was going to win. I mean, in other words, you never know beforehand if you're going to be successful. But I knew that I was going to try. I was going to give it my all.
The young people who are interning mostly here in D.C., they participate, and it's wonderful to see them interested and studying and really taking advantage of their opportunities and their time. And you know, we're very proud of these young people. They're going to be great leaders of the future. I thank Marianne Gomez and staff of Chile for their hard work. I thank each and every one of you for being a part of this important day. Thank you.
Please welcome Chile founders, the Honorable Ilia Ros-Lehtinen, Chile Chairwoman, and U.S. Representative Mario Diaz-Balart, Chile Vice Chairman.
Thank you so much. What an honor for the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute to recognize our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, with the Chile Lifetime Achievement Award. It's all over, Marco. This is the lifetime. Can't get any more. Marco Rubio's story, as we know, is the American dream. Born to Cuban immigrants, his journey from a working-class family in Miami to the highest diplomatic post in the United States reflects the opportunities that America provides to those who seek to improve their lives and are willing to work hard for a better future. And as a student, Secretary Rubio interned for me when I was a U.S. representative back in the Middle Ages. And I hope that it provided him with valuable exposure to congressional operations and politics at the federal level. And it was particularly meaningful given our shared Cuban-American heritage and connection to our beloved South Florida community. Before he was appointed Secretary of State, Marco built an impressive career in public service that prepared him for the global stage. First elected to the Florida House of Representatives at the age of only 28, he rose to become Speaker of the House, or as we say in Miami, Mr. Speaker, and was then elected to the U.S. Senate in 2010. Mario, what happened next?
Right. Thank you, Ileana. This has got to go a little bit higher. Hey, by the way, I'm going to do something that's not on the script. And Mr. Secretary, I don't think you're going to be upset, because no matter the accolades and the success of this amazing public servant, nothing would be possible without this woman sitting next to him. Please stand up, Senator Rubio. Please stand up. Thank you, Diana. In Secretary Rubio, America has a diplomat who brings a deep understanding of international affairs and a perspective on America's role in the world, that crucial world in the world. And Secretary Rubio has brought a distinctive style to American diplomacy, one that combines principled advocacy with pragmatic engagement. Secretary Rubio is fluent in Spanish and deeply versed in the histories and the cultures of many regions. He has connected with foreign audiences in ways that frankly transcend diplomatic exchanges, those traditional diplomatic exchanges. He has distinguished himself, Ileana, as a leading voice on foreign policy, serving on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and the Select Committee on Intelligence, as well as the Senate Appropriations Committee, the most important committee in Congress, as you all know, and also on the Small Business and Entrepreneurship. Secretary Rubio has demonstrated his resilience, his adaptability, that have really made and symbolized and characterized his career. He understands that American leadership remains indispensable in this world, not as an imposition, but as an invitation to build a world that reflects our shared values of freedom, democracy, and human dignity. So again, please join us in presenting the Chile Lifetime Leadership Award to, yes, one who is an amazing public servant, but as those of us that have had the privilege, the honor of knowing and working with him, a model public servant, our Secretary of State, the Secretary of State, Secretary Marco Rubio.
Thank you. I didn't know I was speaking. I'm shy in front of audiences, so I apologize. I don't like to speak that much. But first of all, thank you for those kind words. I'll have more to say about that in a moment. I'm, of course, also happy that my wife, Jeanette, is here. This Lifetime Achievement Award or Lifetime Leadership Award is a little scary because it's like, that's it, you're over, it's done. Usually they give it to you at the end, but because you don't know what I'm going to do the next 3 years. Maybe you want the award back in a couple of years if things don't work out. I hope not. I hope not. But thank you. It's an honor to be with you. It's also an honor to be Señor Presidente de la República Dominicana. Muchas gracias. También vas a recibir un premio esta noche. But more importantly, I'm glad the President of the Dominican Republic is here so he can go back and say, well, they really like Marco Rubio back in the United States, at least in this room for this time. But thank you. It's an honor to be with you again. And, I was reflecting just for a moment as before I came here today. And this whole, a couple points. It's a tremendous honor to serve as a Secretary of State. And when I joined the administration early on, they said, one of the initiatives that we're pursuing is to increase efficiency in government. In essence, they want to be able to do more while, spending less or putting less. And for example, they said, one of the things we want you to look at is consolidation. Can you take, for example, what today are 4 jobs and just give them all to one person? And I said, that sounds like a great idea. We should do that all across the government. Little did I know they just meant me. But it is an honor to be here tonight on behalf of the National Archives to speak to all of you. And it's actually a really cool job. Anyways. I think back, and though there's still more work to do, at sort of the road that brings me to this point, and even watching that short, brief video a moment ago about Lincoln reminded me of things. So maybe it'll make sense to you at the end. I want to share the story with you. I always had an interest in politics and global affairs, and people say, well, what is this interest you've always had in foreign policy and in international relations? And I'm like, you've obviously never been to Miami, and where... foreign policy is domestic policy on a daily basis. But I always had an interest in public. So listen, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I had some master plan where I was going to start at the City Commission in West Miami and 20 or 30 years later wind up as Secretary of State. But I always had an interest in it. So when I was a college student, as Congresswoman Roslyn and Ziliana just pointed out a moment ago, one of the things I wanted to do is get involved in the political process. So I literally, at that time, we had these things called hardline telephones that you would pick up and call. It wasn't an email system. And I called my congresswoman in fact, she had just been elected in a special election. The first vote I ever cast was for Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. It was an election in 1989. So in 1991, I called her office and I said, I inquired about there was an internship program, and they said, well, you know, come in, talk to us. I ended up finding out I may have been either your first or your second intern, but it was a nascent internship program. And it was in the local office. It was in Blue Lagoon. Remember your Blue Lagoon office? And it was in Blue Lagoon that they burned down. Apparently it didn't burn because somebody left the coffee maker on well after I was gone, and nothing to do with me. But and I started working there as an intern, and it was only for a few months, and it was very impactful. The first thing I learned just being there, because it's interesting, I guarantee you many of you have done internships or been involved. There's like the TV version of public service, right, and the glamour, and then there's the actual nuts and bolts of it. And literally the nuts and bolts of the office was people would write letters, constituent letters. And back then there wasn't like some form letter. They would respond to each one of them individually. So part of the intern's job was to go through all these emails. And Congresswoman Ross Layton would read all these letters. She would read them all. It's a really unbelievable thing to watch. I will confess now, I never read all the letters. I mean, I couldn't, you know. Now it's too easy to email, so you get 1,000 emails to save a bald eagle, or 50,000 emails from somebody with a campaign to save a bear or something. But back in that time, people had to put a stamp and send it to you. But nonetheless, it was a lot of mail. And what I do recall is that she would come by the office, usually on Fridays because of the vote schedules, or maybe Mondays, and she'd pick up the stack of letters and with notes on them, respond this, say that, and leave behind, and then leave behind the stack of letters and take new ones. And I'm going to tell you a couple things that I learned from my time there that really were impactful years later. It, in many ways, is how I modeled or thought about constituent service in my Senate office. And now, again, we didn't read 50,000 emails a day or things of that nature, but she had such a commitment to constituent service that, and I don't say this like in a derogatory way, I say this in a very positive way, she could have literally voted any way she wanted in Congress. Because by the time her career in public service was just halfway through in the Congress, there was no one she hadn't helped at some point. And I'm talking about the things people will call about, like I have a cruise on Saturday and I forgot to renew my passport. Sounds like a simple thing unless your cruise is on Saturday and you don't have a passport. A lot of immigration things. I remember they were helping people find employment. Again, and I was only there a few months. And I learned so much from that experience, and it really impacted me. When I came back home in the summer of 1990, by the way, this is an interesting story. My wife at that time was my girlfriend. I had just met her, so I must June, July that year. You don't even know this story. One of the first, you remember this? One of the first times I asked her, she went with me as a volunteer. I was a volunteer on a Saturday at a fundraiser. I'm just saying that, I'm sure the statute of limitations run out or whatever, but I wasn't a paid staffer. And as a volunteer at one of her, I actually even remember the fundraiser. I think it was the second anniversary of your 39th birthday. That's what they called it. The second anniversary of her 39th birthday, or maybe the first anniversary of her 39th birthday. And my wife, my girlfriend at the time, sat in one of the, remember this? You had to do the name tags. In fact, I even remember, I think the guest was Olga Guillot. Do you remember that fundraiser? It was an incredible moment. This was back in 1991. Okay, so I go back to college. I come back in the summer of 1992. And I said, you know what would be really cool is to work on a campaign. And so I drove to Hialeah, to this strip mall. There's Hialeah people everywhere. They're everywhere. Huh? Even at the Waldorf Astoria, there's people from Hialeah. It's unbelievable. There was this storefront in Hialeah, and I remember the thing I remember about it. It was in the shopping area where there was a place called Chico's. Remember Chico's? And on the other side of Chico's, don't tell me there's nobody here that went to Chico's, right? There was. All right. They're making it up. They didn't have the Chico's. And on the other side of that, in the top floor, was a campaign for a state senator named Lincoln Diaz-Balart. He was running for Congress. And I volunteered. I walked in. I met this young lady, Anna Carbonell. And I volunteered on that campaign, which he ultimately won. It was an interesting campaign. I remember he had a debate against Javier Soto, a great man. Remember this debate? And so this was a great campaign. And we got hit by a hurricane that year, right? Or shortly thereafter, and it impacted the elections and what have you. But nonetheless, so I worked this campaign. He gets elected to Congress. I go back to school. I graduated in 1993. And I decided I want to go to law school. I'm about to tell you a story which is true. This is not, I'm not making this up. I mean, it sounds like it's fake, but it's not fake. And if it is, you can't prove it's fake anyway. But I'm going to tell you because it's true. I go to drop off my admissions, like my application, personally to the University of Miami. And my 2 letters of recommendation to the law school were Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen and now Congressman Lincoln Diaz-Balart. So now you're thinking you did have a master plan. That's why you went to 2 places. But it really wasn't. It was 2 people I knew. I dropped it off. And when I get home, I get a phone call, and I had been admitted to the University of Miami Law School. Now, maybe the letters had something to do with it. I hope they did. In any event, I go to law school, and this begins in 1993, and time moves on. We interacted many times over those years in different capacities. I was just a law student. I got elected to the West Miami City Commission, and then I get elected to the Florida legislature, where I'm serving for a number of years. 2 years before I became speaker, in 2004 to 2006, I got to serve in the Florida legislature, and there was a state senator who was serving in the state senate. I think he was one of the first people to do this, but he decided now that term limits had removed him from the state senate, he was going to run for the state house. And I thought, that's very peculiar, like you're a state senator, and now you're going to go back over to the state house. As it turns out, he was appointed the chairman of the redistricting committee to draw congressional districts, and then I figured it out, because that's why Mario Diaz-Balart came back to the state house. To draw districts. But I had a chance, we sat next to each other on the floor. And he was a huge influence on me. People say, what is the most important thing you learned from Mario Diaz-Balart? And you know the story I'm about to... So here's the story. The speaker, they always relied on him to carry some of the big bills in addition to his work gerrymandering his district. And I'm kidding. Is there media here? It was the old district. It's not the one now. I'm just saying. All right. And so in 2006, so they would come with him with all these bills, and they were, you carried a bunch of bills, civil service reform. Now, I don't mean this as an insult. This is going to be a compliment. You have to let me finish the story, okay? Okay, you have to let me finish the story. But Mario knew nothing about these bills. He knew nothing about the details of the actual legislation. What he knew, but here's where the compliment is. They would, you stand up on the floor of the legislature and they would say, Representative Diaz-Balart, you're recognized to present your bill. And he would stand up and say, this bill is about civil service reform. Everybody knows what this is. It's time to vote. And so, some poor Democrat, usually, opposition party would stand up and say, the time for questions. Questions of the sponsor. And somebody would stand up and say, I have a question of the sponsor. And they would ask a question, and Mario would say, this bill has been public for weeks. This bill has been known to this whole body for weeks. It is an insult that I would be asked questions about this bill. We need to vote and move on and stop, standing in the way of the people's business. And I said, that is a talented guy. And so I've used that ever since, and it's worked really well in my career. How dare you ask about this treaty? It's none of your business. Vote on the treaty and let's move on. So, in any event, but Mario was also a great friend. And I would actually say that my chances of running for speaker would have been gravely diminished had it not been for his advice and his counsel. And obviously moving on from there to the time here. I never got to serve with Lincoln while he was in the House and I was in the Senate. Obviously Mario's still here. And now we work very closely together because he happens to be the guy who does the appropriations for the foreign relations. And so, but we've worked very closely for many years. In fact, we worked very closely in the first Trump administration in what ultimately was known as the President's Executive Order on Cuba, which is a pretty dramatic reset that I think will be looked back at. And Ileana was here for some period of time while we were overlapped a little bit. But I will say this. Now, I don't have to do these flights anymore, but I will say this. She seems to fly here as often now as she did when you were in the Congress. So my only guess is that this probably just pays a lot better, whichever you're doing now. It's just a much more, but she's here all the time. But she's a force of nature, and the work she does. And And then, and obviously, you know, with Lincoln's passing earlier this year, it was a beautiful funeral. And you learn things about him that I didn't even know. Is Daniel here? Daniel Diaz-Balart, they told me about. You did a great job. You really did a great job speaking and talking. There were a lot of things about him that I didn't even really know. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know some of the depths of some of it. An incredible statesman, and someone we really all kind of looked up to as someone who made a real difference in some of the bills that he passed, that we look back at now and not fully, you know. It's interesting. Again, I don't mean this as an insult to anyone who's involved in politics today. I almost wonder if you could achieve today what he achieved during his time in Congress, and I'm going to explain to you why. Because he was a guy of action. I mean, he was here because he wanted to make policy. And I think today we've entered a political culture where sometimes what's rewarded is the celebrity. Can you post some provocative thing online? Can you get a 5-second clip that gets replayed on social media of you screaming at a witness? And he did some of that, especially but he just worked and passed legislation. I mean, meaningful legislation. So did Ileana. These are important things that changed the lives of thousands of people. And, you know, that's just not rewarded today in politics the way it once was. And so I hope we don't lose that, but it's hard to emulate the career he had. But here's the point I tried to make in all of this. An organization like this that's interested in leadership, there is someone probably interning now, or volunteering on a campaign now, or sitting next to you now, or perhaps working alongside you now in some capacity, who, through your opportunities that you've given them, you're opening doors for them that will lead to something in the future, maybe in business and maybe in politics. I can tell you with certainty that I don't believe that I could have had not just the success, but the opportunities I have had it not been for the fact that I had an opportunity to intern or an opportunity to volunteer on a campaign. And by the way, the people you meet, do you know how many of the people I met working in those offices or working on that campaign or even working in the Florida legislature that to this day I interact with? Some are still in government or some are not. And I do think as much as anything else, when you talk about Chile, what you're talking about is the empowerment of young people who have a desire to in some way contribute to public service. And certainly when you expose people to these things, when you expose them to the network of other people that they meet, because relationships are everything in life and most certainly in politics, when you allow them to expand their horizons so they can see what the opportunities are and maybe even discover new areas of passion or interest that they never knew about, these are truly seeds that over time bear fruit. And so it's great to stand here. As I said, it's always flattering to receive an award and be recognized. You were Speaker, you were a member of the Senate, you were the chairman of this, you're now Secretary of State, and the National Security Advisor, and the acting archivist, and the acting USAID director. So it's always great to, and the Surgeon General. No, I'm kidding, I'm not that. Nah. I wanted it. You get a uniform. Do you know you get a uniform if you're a Surgeon General? I wanted it, but they had given it away. You know what would be good is Library of Congress. That would be a good job. Acting librarian Mario Diaz-Balart. Do you want it? But all kidding aside, you can talk about this path someone took there, but I can just tell you these things were all made possible because Ileana Ros-Lehtinen and Lincoln Diaz-Balart and Mario Diaz-Balart, indirectly or directly, whether they realized it at the time or not, contributed to it, invested, created opportunities, and allowed someone to explore more opportunities down the road. And that doesn't escape me. And I take great pride even now when I run into someone who interned for me when I started in the Senate, or who now is doing great things, or someone who was a staff member of mine, who's now doing great things. And usually, you know, staff members that work for you, when they go do better things, one of two things, you can tell right away. Their clothes is a lot better because they're no longer work for you and they're making just like 5 times as much money. Or they're in charge of something. Some even maybe got elected to things or what have you. I actually take pride in that, and I think that's an incredible thing. But I don't think that's the part, I don't know if people fully appreciate the doors that were opened for people like me and so many others. Not because of those that, I don't want to say those that came before us, but who were in those positions before us. And I also want you to understand this about it, because I think this is very powerful and true. One of the things that allowed me as a young person to believe that it was possible for me to have these aspirations was because there were people sort of kind of came from the same background I did who were already in those positions. Because that was, 20 years before that, 15 years before, that wasn't the case. But when you're a 23, 24-year-old young person growing up in Miami who aspires to one day serve in higher office, and you see someone who comes from your community and the same background that you came from, who now is in those positions, you know what it triggers in your brain? I could do it too. If someone like me could be doing it now, I can do that in the future. And I think that's a very powerful thing that all of us have an obligation to continue to pass on. So I appreciate this award. I'm honored by it. But I would say the opportunities I've had in leadership, as much as anything else, have been the result of what others empowered me to do, gave me the opportunity to do, whether they knew they were doing it at the time or not. And one of them was Lincoln Diaz-Balart, and two of them were Ileana Ross-Layton and Mario Diaz-Balart. And I thank you for what you do every single year through this organization to empower more young people so that the next Archivist of the United States of America may be sitting in this audience right now. Thank you and God bless. Thank you.
We forgot to give him the award.
Congratulations, Secretary Rubio, and thank you for your service. And now, please welcome Ruben Barrales, Senior Vice President, External Engagement, Wells Fargo, and Chile Advisory Council, who will join our chairwoman for the next award.
And then I go. Okay. Yay!
Wow. Wow. Eliana, it's an honor to be up here with you.
Thank you, Ruben.
What a tough act to follow. Oh, yeah, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ruben Barrales with Wells Fargo. I'm very proud to be a supporter of Chile. We do have the teleprompter, and I was told earlier that all my jokes have been removed from my remarks, so I think I'll just get started. Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar represents Florida's 27th Congressional District. Since her election in 2020 to represent the diverse communities of Miami and its surroundings, Congresswoman Salazar has established herself as a passionate champion for entrepreneurs and family-owned enterprises. Before entering politics, Salazar built a remarkable career in journalism spanning nearly 4 decades. And she read a teleprompter much better than I do right now. She won 5 Emmys, was a news anchor, a reporter, television host with major networks including, well, now Comcast Telemundo, Univision, and CNN en Español. Her academic credentials include a bachelor's degree from the University of Miami, and a master's degree in public administration from Harvard University. And as a key member of the House Financial Services Committee, she constantly demonstrates her support for entrepreneurs. And her advocacy and work reflects both the vibrant business community within her district and the fundamental belief that economic opportunity is the cornerstone of the American dream.
Gracias, Rubén. Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar has distinguished herself as one of the most powerful and passionate voices against authoritarianism in the region. Maria Elvira recognizes that Hispanic Americans are not a monolithic voting bloc, but rather diverse Americans with shared values of faith, of family, of freedom, and of opportunity. Throughout her service, Congresswoman Salazar has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to policies that promote democracy, freedom, and human rights in Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and throughout the region. Maria Elvira's leadership is evident through her support of critical legislation that holds authoritarian regimes accountable, that provides vital support for democratic movements, and assists political refugees who are seeking liberty and safety. It is with great honor that we present Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar with the CHLI Leadership in Public Service Award in recognition of her exceptional advocacy and tireless dedication to advancing freedom. How many times have I used that word, freedom? 4 times talking about Maria Elvira. That's what she stands for, advancing freedom and human dignity. Ladies and gentlemen, please join Ruben and me in welcoming Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar to the stage. Yay.
Thank you very much. Do we receive it now?
Yeah.
All right.
Because we don't want to forget.
You don't want to forget it. No, I don't want to forget it either. So how do we do this? This way? This way? Right. All right. Thank you. This is the right one, right? I certainly hope. Thank you.
Is that Mr. Moran? Yes. Break a leg.
Thank you. I think I'm going to put this down here, right? And we're going to raise this. Well, that's a difficult act to follow after Secretary of State, National Security Advisor, Surgeon General Marco Rubio. I think well, they were what Marco was in the Senate, and Liana and Mario and Lincoln were in the House. I was reporting on them, and they hardly came to my show because apparently I was a very tough interviewer. But now they're my friends, and I am delighted to be here, and also in the presence of the Presidente de la República Dominicana, el señor Luis Abinader. Un placer en estar con usted. And to the friends, to the colleagues, and the fellow public servants, what an honor to be here tonight, surrounded by leaders who believe in the promise of this extraordinary country and the power of the Hispanic community to make a historical contribution to its future. All great journeys begin with gratitude, and that is why I'm eternally grateful to the Congressional Hispanic Leadership Institute. Thank you for this tremendous honor that I'm receiving tonight, the Leadership in Public Service Award. CHLI is just more than just an institute. It's the only bipartisan Hispanic leadership organization in our nation's capital. And that alone is just worth celebrating. For that reason, I have to pay special tribute to the leaders who made this miracle possible. Those leaders who are here, other members of Congress who founded CHLI. First, to her, to the one who introduced me, to the trailblazer who once held for 30 years the same congressional seat that I am representing right now, Florida District Number 27, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. Where are you? Stand up. They say that we stand on the shoulders of giants. Well, Ileana may not be a giant herself. She is short in stature, but in power, in courage, she is colossal. Ileana was the first Latina elected to Congress, and she showed us the way, and that made it really easy, specifically for me. Congresswoman Mario Diaz-Balart is another one, is the founder of this great organization, and today is a very dear friend in Congress. He is right there, and he is my brother in arms. And for the last 5 years, we have stood together every step of the way in fighting for the interest of South Florida. Thank you, Mario. Thank you. If people would only do the things you do for the benefit of your community. And there I am following you and saying, Mario, are you sure we got to do this? Yes, Maria. Okay, you got my vote. And I'm shaking, and I usually do not shake. And now, to your brother, Lincoln Diaz-Balart. May his legacy continue to guide us. May he rest in power and in peace, knowing that the light he lit yesterday still guiding us, all of us today. They all understood that the Hispanic story is the American story, and he understood it better than anybody, and I am eternally grateful for what he did for me in 2018, and thanks to him in particular, I am standing today in District Number 27. So he knows in heaven that I owe him forever. They recognize that our community does not live in red or in blue, but we live in hope, in hard work, in faith to the Almighty God, and in family values. And with deep humility, I stand on your shoulders, on your shoulders. The award that I'm receiving today bears the beautiful name, is the Leadership in Public Service Award. Tonight, I would like to reflect on what that really means. Public service is not about popularity or towing the party line. It's about something much deeper. It's about responsibility to the people who trust us and who put us in this position. It's the vision for the country we want to leave behind, what type of the United States we want to leave behind. And it's about having the courage to walk alone when necessary, to speak the truth to power when necessary, even when it is not popular. That is how we keep the flame of service, of leadership, and of the American dream alive. And I am so proud to be part of that mission today. In every era of our history, when we're able to come together as a nation, greatness follows. Just look at Lincoln when he formed a team of rivals. Look at Reagan when he reached across the aisle to Tip O'Neill. And now, that's why I'm asking for your help. There is no greater service or greater act of service to this nation at this hour than to finally bring out of the shadows millions and millions of our brothers and sisters, most of them Hispanic, and give them a dignified life in this promised land. Yes, they broke the law. Yes, they did. But they do not belong to El Tren de Aragua. Yes, they broke the law by sneaking in. Yes, but someone gave them a job and they stayed for decades. Yes, they broke the law, but they break their backs on the fields of this country every single day. They build our homes. They take care of our children. They take care of many of our industries. They have worked for decades in darkness that they did not come to take, but to contribute to our economy. And they have done it with dignity. So as your public servant, and with the help of my delegation, I am introducing in the very near future the dignity legislation, a serious bipartisan bill that offers a Solomonic, revolutionary solution to a problem which has been hounded this country for more than 40 years. They, the undocumented, the illegals, have earned a place in our community. Now it's time to recognize that. It's not going to be an easy fight, but it's the Christian thing to do, is the fair thing to do, is the just thing to do, period. And tonight, I am calling on all of you to help me. Let us give them the chance to become right with the law, as Mario says, because that is the promise of the American dream. We're not inheritors of the American dream. We are its stewards. And as long as I am in this congressional position, I will be the voice of the ones who no one hears, but they are living among us, invisible to many of us, but still contributing to make our lives better. And to every young Latino watching tonight and here and being part of Chile, like Marco Rubio said, yes, yes, you can lead. Yes, this is still the best country on earth, no doubt about it. If not, look at Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Be proud that we're all Americans, and thank you for this honor. I think I'm gonna... Where is my...
Congratulations, Congresswoman Salazar. And now, please welcome U.S. Representative Rob Menendez, Chile Board of Directors, and Ryan O'Connor, Principal Associate, Government and Policy Affairs Group, Capital One, Chile Advisory Council.
Thank you for having me. First and foremost, on behalf of Capital One, we're proud to support such an incredible organization. In 2012, the people of California's 51st Congressional District elected Juan Vargas to the U.S. House of Representatives. His district, which encompasses the entire Californian-Mexican border, presents unique challenges and opportunities that Congressman Vargas has addressed with insights and effectiveness. Congressman Vargas has maintained an unwavering focus on creating economic opportunities for working-class families. He has supported infrastructure investments and created good-paying jobs for American people. He advocates for small businesses and works to expand workforce development and prepare Americans for careers in growing industries. He earned his BA in political science and graduated magna cum laude from the University of San Diego. He has a master's in humanities from Fordham and a JD from Harvard Law. Busy man. Congressman.
One of 10 children to parents from Mexico, my colleague Congressman Juan Vargas started his political career in the San Diego City Council in 1993. He continued his public service in the California State Assembly and later the California State Senate, where he championed legislation protecting consumers, expanding healthcare access, and promoting economic development in border communities. Congressman Vargas has secured critical funding for border infrastructure, including modernization projects of the San Ysidro and Calixco border